And a good Wednesday afternoon to you, Roger Hill of Wuthering Heights. This weather video is driven by 802cars.com, representing 802 Toyota, Twin City, Subaru, and 802 Honda. They're all located off of Exit 7 on Interstate 89. This is our current area of low pressure tracking now off the coast, and it's bringing a little swath of snow that's working into parts of northern Vermont. We're seeing pretty much the amounts of snow here off to the south and west of our region, more or less the highlight. This will probably affect the southern two counties the most, especially around Route 9. It is snowing right now in Bennington, and the temperatures are cooling from south to north just a bit. We could see daytime highs up in the far northern regions reaching close to 40 and maybe even exceeding that as a possibility. But this snow is going to make it about as far north as the Barry-Montpelier area, roughly. And then late today, or more like early this evening, we'll see a dusting as this last part of this mechanism begins to shift through. That'll be exiting out of the region, and we should see much better conditions thereafter. This particular weather system also will not produce any strong gusty winds on its backside, as it will be pulling away, and it really doesn't pull down any tremendously cold air. So hence, we're going to see another warm-up once this moves on by, where temperatures will be more or less in the upper 30s to about the mid 40s across a good section of our region, and good enough for some sap runs potentially here just around the corner. Thursday and Friday look like very dry days. Thereafter, we have a more impressive weather system. This will be coming in with some jet stream energy that will round the corner here and develop and hook up along the Gulf of Mexico, and then make a track similar but dump off of Cape Hatteras as a fairly strong coastal bomb. It'll undergo bombogenesis and then track basically not too far from the New England coast, maybe just a little bit inland. So this one's going to be tricky, and with warmer temperatures out ahead of it, marginally so, this could also produce some wet snow during part of that storm system, mostly the front part, and then colder air works in behind it, relieving that possibility. So it's a sketchy call right now whether we're going to see wet snow loading, but it does look like a fairly significant snowfall of somewhere generally about 6 to 12 inches, and maybe closer to 12 inches or a little exceeding that across many of our local mountain ski resorts. And this is our current weather system that's sort of edging into southern parts of Vermont. This is valid at about 4 o'clock this afternoon. And this is our current area of low pressure. And you can see the dynamics here with that sort of northerly slip and sort of the leftovers with the trough of low pressure loft. And that mechanism is going to slide on through Vermont and get out of Vermont fairly quickly. This is during the overnight period, about 4 o'clock on Thursday morning. This area of higher pressure is ridging in. It's really going to be the main control of our weather. On the right-hand side, we have the GEM or the Canadian forecast for you, just to compare notes. So here comes this stringy kind of a cold front. We've seen a lot of this recently, and with some sort of wave along that low pressure system beginning to form, and so the precipitation is kind of marking where that frontal boundary is located right now. We have jet stream energy up to the north, but the main southerly branch of the jet is what's causing this, and this will spin up an area of low pressure up the southeast areas near the Gulf Coast. We'll have a good influx of moisture coming in off the Gulf of Mexico. And we have our leading edge of snowfall. This is valid at about 1 o'clock in the morning on Saturday morning. So basically, late overnight Friday night is when the snow begins to work in across mainly northern areas. And then it shoots a little band of snow further up to the north of us. And then it also fills in with some rain. This is also being depicted, and there could even be a little bit of mixed precipitation types here. This is valid at about 10 o'clock on Saturday. This is a fairly complex system here. So you can see that this area of low pressure is now tracking in across southern parts of New England, where there's going to be primarily rain. That puts a wet snow and also jackpot snows across a good portion of Vermont. We can see very heavy snowfall. In fact, probably somewhere around 1 to 2 inches, maybe even greater than 2 inches per hour for a period of time as that low is closest to us, valid late in the day on Saturday. By this time, we have colder air swinging in. There's going to be a wet aspect to the snowfall during the first part of the storm. Once we get into the mid part and then beyond that point, we'll see much colder air begin to swing in aloft, and that's going to raise the snow to water ratios above 10 to 1. But ahead of that, it's somewhere around 8 to 1, and so the potential for wet snow loading is here, but it's not a certainty. This is a little bit long ways out at this point in time, but this is a monster area of low pressure undergoing bombogenesis and then working in and then taking a track into the Canadian Maritimes. If this low pressure center tracks a little further to the north, it's going to be even more problematic, as we'll probably go from some kind of wet snow loading to change over to rain and very complex nature. But it does look like the cold air out ahead of it could be the saving grace, the fact that it's a little bit more marginally warm. So we'll have to wait and see. High pressure builds in on the backside of that system, and then just a few flurries for a weak kind of Alberta Clipper system on Monday. The gem has a little more of that activity. But to follow this period, it doesn't look like anything major at that point in time. This little bump here is our precipitation. This is 3-hourly QPF for the GFS ensemble centered on Montpelier, Vermont. And what you can see here is just a little uptick of snow. That's going to happen relatively after 0Z. This is about 7 o'clock this evening. So just a little tiny bit of a dusting to a ½ inch or less. And then we got 2 dry days of weather, and then the lead up to this storm system for Friday night into Saturday night, and then getting out of town, it looks like by Sunday, and then that little flare up here along about Monday. The total amount of QPF is fairly healthy. Looks like this, about 1.2. Latest model run even a little bit higher than that of the GFS. The Euro model I think is a little bit lower than that, but it's a pretty good shot of snowfall. And just cutting to the chase here, this is snow running about 10 inches again on the Montpelier grid, and the latest GFS model run has even outdone that, showing around more like a foot. Looking at the precipitation types, first of all, 850 hectopascals, all below the 0 degree center line here, except for this. Some of the outlier whiskers here are a little bit above the 0 degree centigrade line, suggesting there could be some rain. I would ignore that. I don't think we're going to see rain. Looking at precipitation type, you can see that it's indicated, and that's what this bar is here, this indication here, and then a little bit of a mix. If there's anything, it's going to be a little mix and all snow after that point. Now, but beyond that, the other thing I'm going to show you here is precipitable water amounts. So we're only around 0.6 of an inch, 0.7 of an inch. That's nothing really major with this particular storm. So we might be a little bit lower on precipitation rainfall. The other thing here is 850 wind at approximately the top of Mount Mansfield, just showing where the wind gusts are. On the backside of that departing area of low pressure, we'll see gusts of around 45, 50 at mountaintop summit level. And then that's going to cause maybe a tiny bit of downsloping. So there is a little bit of a gradient wind issue with this departing area of low pressure on Saturday, especially Saturday night. 7-day QPF looks like this. We're looking at generally about 1 inch amounts here with the blue. And looking at the temperature anomalies right now, we're running a little bit above normal, but we have a good area of colder than normal weather that's going to be filtering in. And as this first disturbance exits out of the region, it's not going to be too bad for a couple days, but eventually some of this anomalous cold is going to get into the region, and it's going to spread across Canada and then get pulled and tugged south with that Saturday system. The MOS temperature guidance, meteorological output statistics look like this, and neutral up to the east of our region, running about 3 degrees below normal about 3 days later. That kind of works on in, and then we have neutral overhead. Roger Hill, Wuthering Heights, thanks for watching.